Hey everybody, it's Safi and Marco Dish Out on Movies, the only movie review show on YouTube to review movies in terms of food. It's just Marco here once again. This is a very impromptu review. You see, I was originally gonna film a sequence for my movie tonight, and of course, Safi's already doing a movie review of her own tomorrow. But I decided to just go ahead and watch a movie, and I actually thought that it was so interesting that I should review it myself. And that movie is called She Devil. This was actually a recommendation to me, and this was a 1950s movie, and wow, oh God, this movie. I really wanted to like it, and I like it. I like it in a good bad way. To me, it reminds me a lot of Wicked Stepmother. I think I wouldn't want to subject myself to both movies at once, but it really does feel like the perfect double feature because they both sort of revolve around this sort of evil feminine character, bewitching men and sort of tricking them and putting on this persona of a sexy actress type of person, just like a very charming, angelic figure. But then, like, oh shit, they're really this evil witch. And in this film, they call the movie She Devil, and unfortunately, they were too afraid to actually make her into a she devil. And so this film, let's talk about the plot. It's all about this. It's a very simple movie. And to me, they talked about recently that Batgirl felt like a TV pilot episode. It didn't even feel like a movie. I felt the same way with this movie. I felt like it was just a TV episode of like The Outer Limits. I didn't really feel like it was a movie. And so that was one of the issues that I have already right off the bat. It really doesn't feel like a proper movie. And it doesn't feel like a classic monster movie. It just feels like a TV show episode, scientist problems. Every scientist movie, you can basically sum it up with hashtag scientist problems. Like, instead of first world problems, you go hashtag scientist problems because nobody else is worrying about this shit. Nobody else is worrying about giving a girl a serum that makes it so that she can change her hair color and then she's evil, apparently. Like, nobody else is worried about that except for these stupid scientists. So, that's number one. And what happens is you have this scientist. He's very boring and bland. And he has, like, a partner who, like, he's, like, the head of a hospital or something. And they kind of work together. And so it's unfortunate because that could have been a kind of interesting horror-esque type of story where you have these two people sort of conspire together to do illegal things together. That would have been interesting and gritty, and it would have been cool to have like a little backstory there to lead the film. But instead it's like, oh, I'm developing a serum. You know how animals can adapt and they can change to whatever to heal their injuries? So basically, this whole movie is tackling the issue that the Lizard has in the Spider-Man comics. The Lizard thinks the same thing, where, oh, I can develop a serum that will heal any wound or injury because animals can adapt and blah, 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 blah. They can build new cells. And so he has the serum that he's given all these animals. He's got like a monkey. He's got a leopard that's black now. That's really weird. And that's the weirdest part, is that they emphasize that, like, ooh, once an animal is given the serum, they can actually change color. Wow, that's so interesting. Oh my god. This is such a great horror movie. So the scientist says, give me one of your patients when they're, give me the worst patient you have. Give me someone who is about to die, and I will inject them with my serum against their will. And then we'll see if they'll die or not. It's pretty hilarious, because he's like, if I ask them, maybe they won't even be able to give me consent, because they're dying, and they're barely conscious. But let's do it anyway. So he never really cares about that issue, the fact that these people, they can't even say, yes, I do want to do that, or no, I don't want to do that. And I thought that was another issue that they kind of glossed over a little bit. They talk about it near the end, where they kind of be like, oh, but they don't really make it a big thing. They don't make it, it's pretty disturbing. You have this person who, you have this girl, and she, she's pretty. She looks like a typical classic movie star, with natural beauty, not a fake 2022 Hollywood beauty. And she's dying of like extreme tuberculosis and shit, and it's just looking terrible, and she's like drifting in and out, and she's like, ugh, it looks terrible, like a terrible experience. And they go up to her and they're like, hey, we got this new serum. You want to try it? And she's like, I guess if it helps me survive. Like, it's very, very weird. And then they give it to her, not in the way you're thinking. They give it the serum to her, and she turns into the quote-unquote she-devil. And by she-devil, I mean nothing. Nothing happens to her at all, except for the fact that she can conveniently change her hair color when she wants to, so that she can evade certain crimes. So, she's like, I'm going to live the life that I want, the way I want to live it. The one thing I did like, though, one of the things I liked about the film was that after she says that, it's almost like there's all this implied backstory of, like, maybe she has a really tragic backstory, and she has a lot of motivation for wanting to use her new quote-unquote powers to live a good life. And so I kind of like that they left that mysterious, because she seemed like, I don't know, it would have been kind of conflicting, because the movie sort of ends up showing that the serum has changed her, and it's made her into this monstrous person, this terrible, evil person, and she's wicked, and she's mean. She's mean. She's very mean. And the first thing she does, because she's all better now, the first thing she does is she goes to a department store, and she literally just walks up to a guy, bops him over the head with an ashtray, and then steals his money. I mean, this movie's pretty funny. It's only like an hour and 15 minutes long. It's pretty hilarious in terms of like good bad movie shenanigans. And that's just the first of many things yet to come. And so she hides in the changing room, and the police come in, and they actually open up one of the changing rooms just randomly, and they see this old woman, and she's in like her underwear and shit. And that's another thing too, is that this is yet another, like, even though this is a really crappy movie, it's a really low tier movie, it's another old film that destroys the narrative that Hollywood has where women were never allowed to be strong in movies until 2010. There were never any movies with strong female characters until 2010. I mean, this whole movie has a strong female character. The first thing that she says that is that, like, she's been living her whole life just doing things that other people wanted to do, and now she's going to do what she wants to do. And, like, that sounds like a line that they would say nowadays in a shitty movie. Movie like, let's say, The 355. Shitty feminazi movie like that. But no, it's a 1957 movie. And then the main woman, she undresses. You see her in her fucking long black lingerie. And then you see an old woman who's like just in her underwear. And so it's just yet another film that destroys the narrative that these dipshits have when they say that, like, they say all these, like, things about, 1950s movies didn't allow that type of thing. Like, I thought, like, this is pretty funny. So she hides in the changing room, and then she changes her dress and changes her hair color to evade the police. And later on, and basically the whole movie, one of the things about these scientists that make them suck so badly is, unlike in the Frankenstein movies where, Frankenstein does something, they get really upset and they're like, okay, you're going to die. We're going to have to destroy you now. Like, remember that when he kills Igor, I think? And then they're like, we're going to have to put you to sleep. And then they give him the tranquilizer. And then the doctor, who also plays Van Helsing and Dracula, is going to kill him and dissect him. And then Frankenstein comes back. They did not put up with this type of shit. The people in this movie literally act like killing people, robbing people, doing all this stuff. They act like, oh, you know what? It's a tragic thing, but who cares? Because you're pretty, and we like you, and we really want to help you, and so we're not going to say anything. And then there's this whole hilarious thing where they ask her, how did your hair change color? And you think, like, this scientist is so stupid that he literally said that this is possible, that with this serum, it'll change your hair color. He is so stupid that he doesn't even first think that that's what happened with her. Instead, she says that she did it in a salon. She had her hair dyed in a salon. No, she didn't do it in a salon. That was bad wording. And then there's this really hilarious line where they're like, I've never seen luster like the luster in her hair before. And they take some hair samples, and then they sample it to figure out if it's real hair or not, or if it has any dye. And then they're like, oh my God, this is the smoking gun to everything. And then they confront her with it, and it's just so funny. It's just so bad. It's so, like, just... And the worst part is, then she gets mad. Even though she did consent to this. She consented to stay at their house and then be watched until they were done studying her. So she's getting mad that they're studying her after she literally gave them consent to study her. That was weird. And then they have this thing at a party where she spots this rich guy, and she makes out with him, and the wife gets mad. So then she kills the wife, and she changes her color again, and then she changes her hair color again. So she does a hair color change twice instead of once. It's like, I wonder if all the hair color changed on her, if you know what I mean. Like, they never really answered that question. I mean, that would be pretty disturbing, right? Like, that would be pretty scary. It would be a lot scarier than anything they show in the movie. Because when she kills the wife, it's that typical old movie thing where somebody just grabs someone else and they kind of like strangle them a little bit and then they're dead. And it's like, this is pathetic. Like, this is not good. Like, nothing can save this movie from just being just so average and so dull. Even the best parts about it can't save it. So then she takes advantage and she marries the rich guy and they move away together. And then, oh, surprise, surprise, she doesn't want to be with him anymore either because she's violent. She's a she-devil. And I just wish so much, though, that she had looked like a monster because, honestly, I don't care about the logic because I kind of feel like if it were a man and that they had made this he-devil, that he would have looked like a monster. What I care about is the fact that it's a monster movie and there's nothing monstrous about it. It's just changing hair color. And then, oh, she can heal fast. She has super healing abilities because she had taken the serum. And so she can adapt to any injury now. And there actually is a pretty good scene where she has a fight with the husband and he shoots her. And he does the classic, one of my biggest pet peeves about old movies that I've never talked about is I hate it whenever a character is holding a gun by like their stomach, like, right next to their gut, and then they just shoot it and they just don't move or anything. And it's just so abnormal and unnatural. Like, when people shoot a gun, they lift up their arm and shoot it in front of them, and there's pushback, there's kickback. So I really hate that in old movies. That's probably my biggest pet peeve about old movies, is seeing these chads, these guys, they like take out a gun and they hold it by their chest, and then they go bam, 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 and then it just does everything that they want it to do. But what I liked is that he shoots her. I mean, he's going to kill his wife because he figured out that she's a biatch and that he should never have gotten with her over his original wife. Like, he's having these deep regrets. He's like, uh-oh, I married an Amber Heard. And so he shoots her. And it's like, oh shit, this is actually a dark turn. But then, oh no, it heals right up really quickly. She gets a towel and she wipes off a ketchup stain, and that's it. It's pretty funny. And then she kills him by forcing him to drive off a cliff. That was another thing that could have been cool, but it just wasn't. So those were the only 2 kills in the whole movie. So they were pretty weak, pretty lame. And then finally, probably my favorite thing about the movie, although they do kind of ruin it a little bit, they had a lot of potential in this movie, but then they would kind of ruin it. They would kind of do things to sabotage the cool things that they set up. At the end of the movie, she comes back to the scientists and she says, look, you guys know that I killed that guy. And I don't feel like myself. I don't think that this is me. Please, will you help me go back to being myself? And so then they're going to operate on her to get rid of the serum or something. That part was weird. I guess they're going to operate on her pineal gland, because that's what the whole serum is based around, is modifying the pineal gland. And so then the challenge is the fact that they have to, and then this is what was funny, was they couldn't even say the word anesthetize or like they kept on saying like anesthetize. And so that was pretty funny. But they needed to do that somehow. And since her body would just adapt to everything, they decided, well, how about we feed her carbon dioxide and carbon dioxide gas, and so it'll make her go to sleep, and we'll do the surgery on her while she's asleep from that. But she does the stupid thing where she tries to trick the scientist into just marrying her and running away. And I thought, that really kind of like undermined the cool plot turn where she comes there and she's ready to admit to the fact that, she's not herself anymore. And that, and I thought that was pretty cool because it kind of makes it look like the scientists are more so the villains than her, because she's just some random person who was given this serum. So I didn't like that. And then they operate on her, and this was the stupidest part of the movie. After they get rid of the serum's effects, they stand there and they say, okay, let's not save her. Let's let a higher power decide if she will live or die. And so they literally stand there and let God take the wheel, and they let God decide if she will live or die. And I thought that was the stupidest thing. There's a reason why people laugh at this type of stuff in movies. It was cringeworthy. That was so queer, and then she has like a halo around her and she dies, and it's like, God, this is stupid. Here's the thing, no, every Frankenstein movie has some sort of a religious angle to it, but the thing is, there's never been a Frankenstein movie in history where Dr. Frankenstein just sits back and let God kill the monster. Ever. Ever, 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 ever. You know why? Because it's stupid. But they did that in this movie, and I thought that was the stupidest thing, and it was dumb. It was like, the point of it was that they were trying to say that she was meant to die when she had the tuberculosis, which is just complete bullshit, because if everyone was meant to die when they got sick, then that's just a stupid message. That's basically like an anti-medicine message. If you're sick with a cold, don't take medicine, because if you're sick with a cold, that means you're ready to die. That's the message of this movie. That's the message of this She-Devil. I never would have imagined. And so I would give She-Devil, I thought this movie was pretty embarrassing. It was laughable. It was awkward. It lacked more. It needed more. I would say that if you had made this a double parter, maybe if you had made this She-Devil Part 1, and then you had She-Devil Part 2 come out in a couple of years, that would have been better. They could have had the whole story lead up to her moving away and getting married, and then she kills the husband, and then the second half will be after that. Because the scientists literally, they didn't even attempt to go after her. They just sit around waiting for her as if she, the scientists in this movie are stupid. And so there's that. It just needed more to it. So I'm going to give this movie, I'm not even going to give this movie anything on a sandwich. I'm just going to give this movie 2 pieces of bread stacked on top of each other. I mean, a piece of bread stacked on top of another piece of bread. You know what I mean. But there's nothing in the middle. This movie is just, it's plain Jane. I did like watching it, though, because there are a lot of funny little things that happen, and I guess it's good background noise. I just can't wait to watch a better older movie, because I know that obviously there are so many better movies, especially from this time period, and this movie was really not a good representation of this time period and their cinema quality. I mean, it was pretty ridiculous. It would have been so much better with the simple fix of just letting her look like a monster. Like, that would have really improved on every single thing about it. So anyways, please like this video, comment, tell me what you thought of She-Devil, and then please subscribe if you'd like to see more honest movie reviews. Goodbye, everybody.